So now we want to add a women's shoe size converter, and we're going to be using doubles instead of integers so we can practice converting strings to doubles and just doing this whole process over again in case you were a little confused about the last section. Maybe you didn't fully understand all of the lectures we had for strings. This will just be another chance to practice everything. So we're going to move our use whole numbers label down, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add an additional text field. And let's just drag this into our project. And once again, let's add some placeholder text. We can say enter US shoe size here. And we can move this down just a bit. We're also going to want to add a label above this. And this label is going to say women's shoe conversion. And we also are going to need a button. Now, why don't I just copy this convert button? Well, this button's already hooked up, so if I copy it, it's going to also copy this connection. So I'm just going to drag in a brand new button here. And we can call this convert as well. And I'm also going to just shift up this label a tiny bit, but I'm also going to want to add an additional label below this. So let's search for a label again. And we're also going to call this converted label. And we're going to set its initial state in the attributes inspector to be hidden. So we'll just check this hidden box here. Now that we have all these items, let me just shift these down a tiny bit here. Let's connect up our label, our text field, and our button to the view controller. So we're going to hold down the Alt key and press on viewcontroller.swift, and I'm going to close out my panels for just a minute here. And the first thing we're going to hook up here is our text field. So let's hook up our women's shoe size text field. And then let's hook up our label. So we're going to say women's converted shoe size label. And then let's finally add an IB action at the bottom here. So we can say, well, we don't want to call this convert button pressed, so let's call this convert women's shoe size button pressed. Very long but very explicit name here. And let's make sure we make this an action, not an outlet. And we can make the type any button, or UI button, excuse me. And we're going to choose event touch up inside and the sender for our arguments here. And we can press connect. And now let's go back to single view here. I'm going to open and close my panels here. Let's go over to viewcontroller.swift. And inside of my IB action here, we're going to go ahead and add some code. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to write this code. Instead of breaking it all out, we're going to use our shorthand here, or the way we were able to add a bunch of code into a single line so we can practice that. However, we're actually going to first need to get a double. We're going to have to use our special double conversion. So let's type in let size from text field equal double, and we're going to do two parentheses here, and we're going to write women's shoe size text field dot text as and a string. Then we're going to do dot double value, and we'll add our last parenthesis here. So remember, this is the way we were able to convert a string into a double before. We had to use this as keyword, and we said dot as and a string. Then we were able to do dot double value here, and this gave us the double value for our string. And we were able to get this because this is an and a string from Objective-C. And then we were able to confirm that this is going to be a Swift type by saying double and adding these outer parentheses here. So with this double in hand, we can now go ahead and add our conversion constant. So we're going to say let conversion constant equal 30.5. And then we're going to unhide our label. So we're going to say women's converted shoe size label dot hidden is going to be equal to false. So we're just accessing the hidden property. We're going to set this equal to false, which means unhide the label. And then finally, we can update our text here. So we're going to say women's converted shoe size label dot text is going to be equal to, and we're going to pass in size from text field. And because we're in these parentheses, we can also add an additional double. So we're going to say plus conversion constant. And then finally, we can add an additional string, and we can say space in European shoe size. Now, we could also just make this one long string here, like this. This would be completely valid as well. But I'm just showing off the idea that we can add two strings together. So hopefully that will reinforce that idea. Now, why did we have to make this size from our text field a double? Well, we're going to be adding the conversion constant, which is going to be a double here, 30.5 number with a decimal. So we want to make our size from our text field be a double as well. Now, the other thing I want to point out here is when we learned about valid variable names, we said that we shouldn't reuse a variable name. So size from text field and size from text field are the same name here. Why isn't this causing a problem? Well, they're in different functions. So we can reuse a variable name if it's in a different function. So in between these curly braces, we can only have let size from text field once, but because we're in a new series of curly braces, we can reuse size from text field. So that's completely valid. Let's run our application here, and let's click in. Oh, we forgot to change the text fields type here. That's my fault. So let's go ahead into our storyboard and make sure we have the women's shoe conversion text field selected here. And in our attributes inspector, let's just go ahead and change the keyboard type. We'll select number pad, and we can rerun our application here. And let's click in. Oh, now we got some numbers, so let's choose 8, and we can convert this. And it's 38.5 in, well, the label's getting cut off a little bit, so we can also just enlarge our label. So once again, our storyboard, just open this up a little bit more. And let's rerun this. And now everything should appear properly. So we can press 5 and convert, and it now appears nicely.